You would. All right. Here's an ad for a moving company. You say, well, geez, that doesn't look like your typical moving ad. You're right. This is an ad that actually works. This is one that takes a company from 70 calls a month to 955 calls a month. We already tested you earlier. You said you would prefer 955 as opposed to 70. When we wrote this ad, the Yellow Pages salesman, the genius, called the Yellow Pages salesman, not a genius, argued for 30 minutes that no one would read it because the text was too small, people couldn't read it, and it would be a waste of money. Who do you take advice from? Let me ask you this. If you interrupt based on hot buttons, things that are important and relevant, you engage, you educate, and you put an offer, how is it that an advertisement or a marketing piece could fail? The answer is there's only two ways. Number one is you sell stuff that people don't want. Meaning, if you sell flaming sacks of turd, there's not a big market for those. No matter how good your marketing is. You say, well, no one's calling. I'd use the marketing equation. Doesn't work. No, nobody wants that stuff. And the only other reason is because you didn't put it in the right place where people are actually going to see it. And that's a whole different discussion. Tactically speaking, where do you run the ad? That's a whole other discussion. But if you get those two things right, guys, this stuff works. So we're in the Yellow Pages. We're in the moving section where people go when they're ready to move. And we have a headline that says, last year, over 4,350 complaints and lawsuits were filed against moving companies in Dallas. Now, you're perusing through the moving section. Does that get you out of alpha mode and into beta mode? You say, well, I wonder what that's all about, because on a subconscious level, your brain says, I need to get clarifying information. So we've interrupted. Now we've got to engage. The next headline says, I'll read it because it's not maybe clear from back there. Ask these 15 questions to make sure that your moving company's policies, procedures, and standards will protect you from an unpleasant moving experience. Now, the evaluation for whether or not you've engaged somebody is, have you given them the promise that you're going to educate them if they keep reading? Let me ask you a question. Does this headline that says, ask these 15 questions to make sure that your moving company's policies, procedures, and standards will protect you from an unpleasant moving experience, does that promise to educate the person as to the important and relevant issues? Now, I'm going to make a very important distinction right now. Folks, this is not subjective stuff. This is not creative stuff. This is not opinion stuff. That is a fact. This headline promises the reader that if he continues to read, that he's going to get information facilitating. He's going to get information that's going to help facilitate the decision. That's a fact. See, we don't have to rely on creativity. We don't have to rely on people that have all the jujubes and the hanging things and the incense, and they sit around and they creative stuff. Sorry. It's called the marketing equation. The equation works exactly the same way every time. If you understand the basic tenets of math, if you understand that 2 plus 3 equals 5, if the variable changes, now it's 2 plus 4, you don't have to freak out and say, what's the answer? If you understand the arithmetic, 2 plus 3, then if it's 2 plus 4, you can easily say, well, it's 6. But here's what the creative people do over in the creative repetition and positioning part of the world. They say 2 plus 4 is not 6. 2 plus 4 is 9. You say, wait a second. 2 plus 4 is not 9. It's 6. And they say, no. 9 is cooler. And if we make it flame and we take its clothes off a little bit and we have Tiger Woods hold it up, then I'm telling you, 2 plus 6 is 9. And my rebuttal to that is no. It's 6. Interrupt, engage, now educate. Now in the education, granted that's small, but if you're in the market for a move, will you take the time to read that? Well, and you say, well, I won't. But see, here's my comment again. 955 people said they would, compared to 70 with the previous ad. So if you're in the minority that says I wouldn't read that, I don't care. Here's what happens. This ad ran Before this ad ran, the owner of the moving company, Bettina Bennett, she was a German immigrant. She moved here, American dream, start a business, get rich. The previous ad, they got 70 calls per month, got a grand total of $120,000 in sales their first year. They had put together the most unbelievable moving company. The inside reality was phenomenal. They'd spent 12 months, her and her husband and 2 friends, working for 15 different moving companies, finding all the problems, finding all the solutions, and they built the perfect moving company. They put the usual crummy ad full of platitudes out there. A year later, $120,000 in sales. They came to us. They said, this doesn't work. We're getting killed. We wrote this ad in 2 hours, put it together, had the argument with the Yellow Pages salesman. The ad comes out. The first day, she says, hey, I've got my first call. I'm fired up. 2 weeks later, the phone is ringing off the hook. 3 months later, she documented 955 calls. 10 months after the ad first ran, she sold the company for $3 million. That's called the American dream. You say, well, could it all be based on an ad? No, it's not all based on an ad. It's based on having a great inside reality, but having an outside perception, what? That matches it, see? Here's the problem. Inside reality is good, outside perception is bad. What we want to do, we want to bring that outside perception so that it actually does justice for the company that's been built. Do you see how it's imperative that the company that uses this kind of marketing absolutely must have a great inside reality? If you suck and you build a standard that you can't fill up to, people look at you and say, okay, I appreciate the education. Now I can make a better decision, and it's not you. Okay? They educate over here. Insurance. Does your insurance company have per pound or full replacement? Then it gives an example. Let's say that you've got a 25-inch TV valued $400. It gets dropped, you get a check for $16, are you not fired up? We put that right in the ad. Why do we put that right in the ad? Old Chinese saying, victory goes to the one with superior forces at the point of contact. Folks, this is the point of contact. Your marketing piece is the point of contact. I hear it all the time. People say, if I can just get in a sales environment and I can sit down with the prospect, I can sell them every time. Well, let's take what you say. Let's put it out on the front end. Interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. All 4 marketing components work together. Marketing equation. This leads prospects to say, I would have to be an absolute fool to do business with anyone else but you, regardless of price. And that's what we're trying to do. People hear our program title, Monopolize Your Marketplace. They say, well, that's cute. It's not cute. It's a literal statement. If you do this marketing the way that we've talked about, you innovate your company so you have a good inside reality, you run the marketing equation so that you interrupt, engage, educate, and offer, people draw this conclusion without fail. I would have to be an absolute fool to do business with anyone else but you, regardless of price. Doesn't mean you can be 20 times higher in price, but you know what? Our clients on average sell for 15 to 20% over market averages. Why? Because people are not concerned about price. They're concerned about getting what? The best deal. That's it.